There are a lot of people who know that I invest pretty heavily in real estate. They know that I've got this YouTube channel. They know that I talk all about real estate investing. And many of these people have come up to me and they have asked, how do you think that the coronavirus is going to impact real estate? To answer that question, I decided to create this video. And of course, this is just one man's opinion, so take it for what it's worth. But I feel like I have a pretty good grasp on the housing market as a whole. And I think we'll be okay. So the current state of the economy looks like this. Quarter one, the first 2 months at least of Q1 looked great. I mean, the market was soaring, we were doing really well, but March, the last month of quarter one has been terrible. The market has plummeted. It's been awful, and a ton of people have lost money in the stock market. However, I do expect that Q2, quarter two of this year to drop significantly and be pretty terrible for a lot of people. Of course, the $1 million question that everybody's asking is how deep is that drop going to be and how long is that going to last for? And if those drops continue to extend through quarter three of this year, technically speaking, we will be in a recession. Because of all the panic that we've seen this far, there's been a lot of economic stimuluses that have happened to try to artificially prop up the market. There's been multiple occasions over the last couple of weeks and last few months where the Federal Reserve has added big influxes of cash to try and hopefully stimulate the economy. Jerome Powell, chairman of the Federal Reserve, has made a lot of strategic moves to try and stimulate the economy, but most importantly, he made one of the biggest moves on this past Sunday. You know what? I think that's a good thing. I really do, because 70% of our economy is consumption based. That means that it's based off us, Americans, going out and purchasing things, buying things. If people aren't going out and buying things, the economy can't grow. So of course we're gonna come out of this. That's not a question. The problem is, how fast is it gonna be? Is it gonna be like a quick V, we go down, we go back up, or is it gonna go down and then we're gonna kind of hang out down here for a little bit and then go back up? I have no doubt that the economy is gonna recover relatively quickly, but how long are we going to be down in that drop? That's the real question. In my opinion, and again, this is just one man's opinion, I feel like the second half of this year, the second half of 2020, is going to be significantly better than the first. I think that we're going to bounce back pretty quickly, and that in the second half of 2020, we'll be able to continue to grow and expand and start consumption again as a nation. Okay, now here is the main question that I want to answer, and that is, how is this going to affect the real estate market? Okay, now before I say anything, I have to clarify that real estate is hyper local. We cannot group everyone's real estate market together as one whole giant piece. That's just not how it works. The San Francisco market is very different from the New York market, which is very different than the Missouri market, which is very different from my market here in Idaho. Everyone's market is hyper local. Real estate does not influence different areas geographically across the nation. So here's one of the positive things that I see about real estate, and that's that it's very limited. There's only a limited amount of property out there to be purchased. In terms of home sellers, I think as the weeks go on, people are going to begin to become more and more cautious about the property that they're selling. Over the next few weeks, I think we're actually going to see a drop in inventory of houses that are for sale. Where I'm at in Idaho, we haven't seen that yet, but I think we will in the coming weeks. I think the reason for that is, of course, sellers would love to sell their home, but they're going to be cautious because they don't want all of these people, all these random strangers walking through their houses who have potentially been in contact or are infected with the coronavirus. I think people are just going to be a little bit cautious. I think they're just going to kind of hold still for a little bit, ride this out, wait it out, and just see what happens. Now, on the other hand, let's take a look at home buyers. They're looking at the market very differently than home sellers. Home buyers are currently looking at what have been or are historically low interest rates. Home buyers are excited. They want to jump on and they want to take advantage of these low interest rates because they're not sure how long they're going to last. But here's the thing. Home buyers are so closely tied with the US economy that's going to depend on how they're trying to balance their lives. For example, if home buyers are very confident in their jobs, if they feel that their job is very secure and there's not really a high risk of losing that job, then I think they'll still continue to go out and buy so that they can take advantage of the low interest rates. On the other hand, though, if the home buyer is just a little bit uncertain, they're not sure where their job lies, if it's not super stable, then I think they might hold off a little bit and just wait until things settle. The other thing too is a lot of home buyers oftentimes will have money sitting in the stock market and they have to cash in some of those stocks to be able to put a down payment on a house. With the stock market being 15, 20, 25% lower than it was before, most people are not willing to cash in and take that realized loss on their stocks. I mean, that just doesn't make sense right now. That's one of the dumbest things that you can do. Okay, so long story short, what do I predict? I predict that there's going to be a short temporary drop, no more than 15 to 20% in the housing market. It's going to drop quickly, but it's also going to bounce back very quickly. A little bit earlier in this video, I talked about interest rates. Interest rates amazingly came down, and then this week, as I'm recording this video, they've gone up quite a bit. Of course, I'm no economist, but I think that the reason for that is because lenders and mortgage brokers, they're overrun with the number of refinances that are coming in. It's just this humongous influx of people that are trying to refinance their homes and take advantage of these super low interest rates. I've submitted a few refinances myself, and my lender, who is normally super prompt, I can get an email back from him within the hour, is now taking half a day to a couple of days just to get back to me. And every single time he just apologizes profusely and says, "I'm so sorry, I'm swamped right now with refinances." So I'm sure that's had an effect on the interest rates going back up. So I think that's part of the reason that the feds have raised interest rates back up, just to kind of curb that demand. And they're also purchasing a lot of securities, and I think that's just going to help kind of stabilize the market. Personally, I believe we're going to see a little bit more stability in rates. I think they're going to come down just a little bit more, not a lot. I mean, it's not going to be this huge monumental drop, but I think we will see just a slight drop. And just a quick side note here, a lot of people are misunderstanding the fact that the Fed rate is at 0%. That does not mean that you're going to get a 0% interest rate on your mortgage. I think a mortgage on a primary residence could be as low as 2 3/4, and I don't think we're gonna see too much lower than that. Again, this is my opinion, take it for what it's worth, but one thing's for sure, and that's that people are trying to take advantage of this super inexpensive financing. If you know anything about me, you know that I love real estate. I really, truly, 100% believe that it is the best way to build wealth, not only now, but long-term generational wealth for the future as well. In the global financial crisis of 2008, we saw super strict requirements on credit checks. We saw super strict requirements and high amounts on down payments. This time around, I don't think we're gonna see anything like that. Mortgage rates are low, and I think they're gonna stay low, and that's super positive for the rest of the economy. Honestly, I do believe that the next few months are gonna be hard. I think it's gonna be a little bit crazy, but I do see light at the end of the tunnel. I think we're gonna recover really quickly, and it'll probably be one of those things that this is just something that we look back on and we don't really think about too much. Some markets are going to be hit harder than others. I've got a friend who lives down in Las Vegas. He's told me about casinos who have closed already, and I think that'll have kind of a ripple effect on the housing market. There's other areas like on the coast, for example, in Florida, or people with vacation homes. A lot of people have noted and mentioned that they've seen a lot of cancellations on their Airbnbs, a lot of cancellations on their VRBOs, and just a lot of vacancies where normally this time right around the corner for spring break is normally when those are booked out to full capacity. Do I believe in housing? Yes. Will this recover? Yes. Is this anything at all like 2008? Not at all. The reason for the crash in 2008 was because there was a systemic problem. There is nothing wrong with the housing market as it currently stands. So relax, sit back, ride this out. Things are going to recover. Myself, I'm still buying properties. I don't care if we're in a recession or not. If a property makes sense, if the numbers make sense, then I buy the deal. It does not matter. If the numbers make sense, buy the deal. As a real estate investor, I'm not worried about my properties because of the way that I've positioned myself. We've got a significant spread of equity in our properties, our rents are where they should be, and we've got significant cash reserves. Even if we were to lose 20 to 30% of our rents, which I don't think is going to happen anytime soon, but even if it did, we would still be able to cover all of our mortgage payments just fine, and we'd be okay, we'd be able to ride this out. Even if we lost every single one of our tenants, which again is even less likely, we'd still have enough cash reserves that we could pay all of the mortgages on our properties and ride this out just fine. Would I enjoy that? No, of course not. I don't want to lose any of my tenants and I want them all to continue paying. But worst case scenario, if something happens, which it never will, we would be okay until the market recovers. However, if you're one of those investors that is extremely over leveraged, you bought poor properties, you don't have rents where they need to be, you've got crappy tenants, then you know what? Yeah, I might be a little bit worried, especially if you don't have the cash reserves to ride out a temporary dip in the market. So long story short, that's my outlook on the current state of the real estate market. Again, my opinion, take it for a grain of salt, but I just don't think there's much to freak out about. And if you think this is anything like the 2008 crash, it's not. Thanks so much for watching, guys. Appreciate you being here. We'll catch you next week.